are here on tonight. We are doing what episode is this? This is episode number 5, and I am so super excited. Welcome to the She Heal to Live podcast. Let me check my phone right quick just to make sure that I am live. I am live. Okay, cool beans. So, welcome to the She Heal to Live podcast, you guys. I'm super excited to have you guys here on tonight. If you're watching from YouTube, thank you so much for watching. If you have not subscribed to the podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Or if you're listening to the Audible version, make sure that you subscribe to that actual platform that you're listening to. Don't forget to turn your notifications on. And guess what? Leave a review. If you like really feeling the information that you hear on this podcast, leave a review. And then always comment, interact with me on the podcast. And guess what? I'm gonna talk back to you. I'm not gonna bite you. So I'm so super excited to have you guys here on tonight. My name is Cheryl Mazik, and I am the host of the She Heal to Live podcast. And I'm excited about tonight because I have one of my sisters that is actually here with me live. So if you are watching from a platform where you can watch from, you see myself and you see my beautiful sister. And so I want to introduce you guys. Let me pull up her bio because I don't want to mess nothing up and read it to you guys. So Toya Citizen is our purpose-driven life coach. She is the CEO and founder of Tomboy, Not Just a Phase clothing registered trademark, the CEO and founder of Call Me City Consulting and Multi Services LLC, and she's also the founder of the I Matter movement. Toya has 15 years in the field of management and 10 plus years in leadership training and development, plus several other successes in the industry of network marketing. She also has a bachelor's degree of science in business, admin from Northwestern State University of Louisiana, and she graduated in 2004. She is also an independent insurance broker, life member of the Tau Beta Sigma National Honorary Band Society. I hope I said that right. And a member of Alpha.
Upsilon.
There you go.
Omega.
Fraternity Incorporated. Toya is also gifted with vocals used to give God the glory, right? So that is a lot. And I'm so excited to actually know Toya, right? She has so many different gifts, talents, and not only is she formally educated, but she is educated and she has a voice, a beautiful voice, and a gift that only God could give, right? And so, Toya, welcome to the broadcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, of course, you have all of those accolades. You've done so many different things, right? Which mean that you're very successful in this day and time. Let's talk about your upbringing, right? Have it always been a place of abundance and in your life and success growing up as a child? How was your upbringing?
I would say I had a fairly good childhood. My mother was always a hard worker. I did live in a home with two parents, so it was pretty good. Can't complain. We got to travel, vacations in the summertime, so I can't complain. And we weren't the rich people on the block, but we weren't the poorest either. So I had a pretty healthy balance with that. And whatever I was missing, I didn't really know until later on.
I know, right? A lot of times, we when we get older, we realize that maybe we wasn't as wealthy as we thought we were,
Yeah.
right?
They made it work. They made it work though.
They did. Our parents made it work, but our parents were also good at hiding things, right? And
Mm-hmm.
suppressing things. One thing we do one thing I noticed growing up, and even us as parents in this day and time, are we getting into the healing part already? Right? We get into this day and time as we raise our children. Sometimes we mimic and do some of the things that we've seen our parents do. And a lot of times the parents never really took the time to actually go through the things that they were going through. And when I say go through the things that they were going through, will actually take the time to heal from things. And they did a lot of suppressing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about how important it is to actually work through things that you deal with on a regular basis as a caregiver, as a leader, and how important it is to really make sure that you take the time to recognize what you're going through and actually heal, do the healing in regards to those things.
It's one thing is very important because a lot of times we are not we try to ignore what we're going through, and we always want to be the tough woman and the strong black woman, but the strong black woman needs a moment to let some tears out. That strong black woman needs a moment for someone else to hold her and hug her and tell her, hey, you're doing a great job, I'm proud of you, hey, take a breath, it's okay, breathe, you can pause for a moment. And a lot of times what we saw in our parents was just strength. We didn't see them stopping. We never saw them crying. We always just saw them working, working, working. And whatever they were going through, they either didn't let us know, or if we did see something, it was, hey, what goes on in my house stays in my house. And they just moved past it. Or if there was something else going on, everybody just kind of ignored that. And then we grew up thinking that that's okay. And then finally you start with the mental illness, and then you're having the breakouts, the mental breakdowns, and don't know where this came from, but it was rooted from childhood. But what you got was from mama and great grandmama and great great grandmama. So that's, I think it's very important for us to understand where things are coming from and why we are the way that we are, just being aware of it. And sometimes it just takes you to sit down and think back to, why do I feel like this? Why do I act like this? Why did that trigger me to act like that?
Absolutely. And so I agree with you 100%, like really finding the root of where things come from. You know, there's a story that I heard before. I'm quite sure you've probably heard this before too. There's a daughter that's cooking a ham, and she cut
Uh-huh.
the butt off the ham, right? And so when you ask her why did she cut the when you ask her that question, why are you cutting the butt off the ham? She say, because my mama cut the butt off the ham, right? And you go ask the grandmother, well, why did you cut the butt off of the ham? And she say, well, I saw my mom do it. And come to find out, the mother of the mother of the mother cut the butt off the ham because she didn't have a big enough size pot to cook the ham in. So it wasn't something that necessarily had to be done, but it went down generation after generation after generation after generation because of what they saw, instead of
Right.
actually asking those questions and identifying, well, why are we doing this, right? So it's really important to identify those things. How important it is to make sure that you actually take some time to get with a life coach, right? Even if you feel like you've never been through anything, right? I think we all have experienced some type of trauma in life,
Right.
whether we know it or unknowingly, right? We've experienced some type of trauma. How important it is to sometimes sit down with somebody that does not know who you are, that is not biased to what you may be going through, and to really help you identify some things that maybe you have done with, dealt with. How important that is. Hey, Shalonda.
I think it is very important, um, because that person can help you to pull out things that you maybe have suppressed. And their job is not to do the work for you, but their job is to encourage you to open up to do the work for yourself. Because just like when they say you can pray for somebody all day long, but they have to pray for themselves. You can pray for someone, you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make them drink. Until that person is ready to do the healing and to do the work, they're not going to really do anything. So the coach is there to say, hey, what I would do as a coach is I'm going to ask you for permission. We're going to talk about some things, and I want to ask you for permission to help you work through some things. But you got to give me that permission, because not everybody is okay with you telling them or giving them advice on some things and saying, hey, this is, maybe you're looking at it this way, but have you considered, or are you open to trying this? I think it's very important, because if we always keep doing things our way, Our way is not always the way. If you keep doing what you're doing, that's insanity, right? You keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're getting the same result. And if you're not where you want to be, you need someone to help you.
Absolutely, you need somebody to help you. Absolutely. Also, with your childhood really shapes you into your adulthood, right? It helps you to identify who you are. And sometimes you don't know who you are in your adulthood because of some of the things that may have happened to you in your childhood. And so let's talk about this, right? Because you are that purpose-driven life coach and you help people really identify and help them to actually walk as their authentic self, right? Because a lot of times we take ownership of the things that have happened to us, right? The trauma that we've experienced. We start to take ownership of that and how important you should not take ownership of that, but you have to redefine who you are and walk as your authentic self. Talk about that journey of walking as your authentic self and walking in purpose and operating in the way and the manner that God has called you to operate in.
Okay, so that's a lot. It is definitely important to walk in authenticity because while you're trying to be somebody else, it takes a lot of work to try to be somebody else, and God created us all differently for a reason. There's not one person on this earth that has the same fingerprint. So, with that being said, you have purpose. And so, what is it that you're going to bring to the world? What are you supposed to bring to the world? Not what Sally and Jane and Sue are supposed to bring, but what are you supposed to bring? And a lot of times, what happens is people feel as if they're not worthy and they're not good enough with who they are. So now I want to be like her and him, but they don't even know what her and he or she or whatever, whoever they are going through or went through to even get to that status. So we all have a journey that we are charged with. We really do. But sometimes other people make you feel as if who you are, you're not going to be welcome to walk like that. And so it could be something from childhood where somebody called you out of your name or said something to you. And sometimes just small things people remember. I remember in kindergarten when somebody called me this or said this about me, or in third grade, my teacher said I would never be or I couldn't be, or then my mom said this or my dad said that. And we carry all these things, but that's not and then we start to identify as these things and we don't know how God sees us. And so it's just it gets into a place of where now trauma has caused you to operate in fear of being who you really are. And it takes someone to help you to identify that so you can say, okay, I'm going to start doing some work. I want to start unpacking these bags because these bags, bag lady, you're going to hurt your back. But these bags are kind of heavy right now. And so once you start taking some things off and you start realizing, like, I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not this. When you realize who you are, you realize that the world was waiting on you.
Yep, you absolutely will realize the world is waiting on you. We all have that unique thumbprint, like you said, right? And so we have to understand that somebody is waiting on you to actually let those bags go, give them back to the sender, right? Send them back to the sender and truly start to operate in your purpose in whatever that thing is. And it's so important that you said, at a young childhood, you can remember the impression that somebody said to you. I will be 40 on the 12th. I know I don't look like I'm 40. It's all good. Thank you for the compliment. But I will be 40 on the 12th of February. And I literally remember my first grade teacher, Miss Mack. She would always tell my mom, hey, look, she's going to be somebody amazing, right? Because she can come up here and teach the class and do all of these different things, but just giving me so much praise on the leader that I was, right? And that I am. She saw it. And to hear that impression has always been in my spirit, right? And so it's important how we have to recognize that the things that we have heard have really made an impact on us, whether it was a good impact or a bad impact. I can also remember in my teenage years, I had somebody to tell me I wasn't going to ever be anything, right? And that stuck with me as well. And so that just gave me the fuel and the fire to prove to that person, which that person don't even remember telling me that, right? That I am going to be somebody. So those words have power, and those words have a major impact on somebody growing up, and how important it is for us to really take ownership of our healing, right? Especially if we have children. It's important for us to take that ownership because our children do what they see, right? Like I was when I was talking to Dr. E, I was just saying, our children, it doesn't go off of do what I say. They go off of what they see. So it's really important to start to break those generational curses of stopping to suppress the things. It's easier to suppress than it is to heal. A lot of people like to do things that are easier, right? Versus actually doing the work. And it's important for us to do the work. So, Coach City, what can the women expect from Coach City at the Heal to Live conference? But before you answer that, let me throw this plug out there, right? You guys, if you have not heard about the Heal to Live conference, it is going to be March the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th of 2023. We're less than 30 days away, y'all, for the Heal to Live conference, and it's going to be in Dallas, Texas. If you have not gotten your ticket yet, what you waiting on? Stop playing around with your healing. Get your ticket. I guess you're waiting on your tax money, right? It's all good. Make that right investment in a ticket for your healing. It's important for you to really do the healing work on the inside. It's important to do that healing work on the inside, right? So you have to make sure that you get your ticket, be in the building, so that you can start to do the healing work, so that you can be the generational curse breaker in your family, where you are going to stop suppressing, right? Stop suppressing and actually do the work. Show your children what it looks like to be a healed individual. Show your children what it looks like to have emotional intelligence, but have emotional healing, right? So it's important. So make sure you go to healtoliveconference.com. It's on the screen. And if you are watching and listening to the podcast, use the code podcast and you'll get $50 off of any of the full access purchase package, right? So wanted to make sure I said that. So Toya, what are you gonna bring to the not to the podcast, but what are you gonna bring to the conference? What can they expect from you at the Heal to Live conference? Because Toya, Coach City will be there and be in there, be at the conference in the flesh. I'm tongue twisted on tonight. Go ahead, sis.
Well, when you come to the conference, I'm going to talk about just walking in your purpose. And the first thing is identifying that. So many people don't know who they are. They're not comfortable in even looking to find out their purpose. So many times I used to chase profit all the time because I'm trying to make money. We all need money, right, to do things. And I didn't understand that, okay, when you're just searching for money, you're never going to get anywhere like that, because the one thing that God has gifted you with, that the one thing that God has gifted you with, your gifts will make room for you. And when you find that thing that you're good at and that you are passionate about and that you were created to do, the money will come. For me, I didn't realize all these years that people would always talk to me for advice, and I'm motivating and I'm encouraging, and I'm the one that's praying for my friends, and they're like, can you pray for me? I'm like, you never even heard me pray for you. You don't even know if I can pray, but people were always drawn to that. And I realized that that was my purpose. And then I had to start being comfortable with that. So I'm going to teach people how to walk in your purpose unapologetically and being authentic with that. Because sometimes I can tell you, for me, I'm so glad that I am a lady of faith over fear, because fear kept me with a closed mouth. And we know closed mouths don't get fed, right? And so I'm going to tell people, look, when I stop focusing on what everybody else thinks I should be, what I should dress like, what I should walk like, what I should talk like, how you should fix your hair, how you sit up, all these different things that everybody else wants from you. But what makes you happy? What makes you comfortable? When will you start? Because the minute that you start worrying about everybody else and you say, I'm going to do this for me, and you get started, hey, God, you take the steering wheel, because that's all you need. All you need is to make sure that you communicate with God first, to find out if this is what you want me to do. God, if this is this the path that you want me to go down? What is the purpose for this? Because what I want to do is I want to be an impact to your people, because everything that you do has to be for God's glory, because only what you do for God is going to last, So I'm going to teach people that. I'm going to tell them, stop worrying about everything else and go get started. Nike was amazing when they said, just do it, because that's all you have to do is just do it and stop operating in fear. Fear has held us in bondage. It has kept us from starting, because it's the, what if I do? What if I don't? What if what if it does work? I know at one point in my life, I'm not going to say the person, but that person would, every time I would say I had an idea or I wanted to try something or something came to mind, it's like, well, what if that doesn't work? But then I finally said, what if it does? What if it does? And all these years I've wasted, one thing that you will never get back is time. You will never get time back. I don't care if you're the richest woman or man on this planet. You can't buy another second, not one. So what are we waiting for? We can't wait to be perfect. If I was waiting to be perfect, this podcast wouldn't be going on right now, because my hair's not done. If we want to wait until we're perfect, oh, well, guess what? I'm not the ideal weight that I want to be. So wait, let's just wait until I lose the weight. Let's wait until I get my hair done. Let's wait until I'm driving the car of my dreams. Let's wait until I live in the house that time has passed you by. And all you've operated in is fear, and you have just displeased God, because what he gave you, you're not operating in it. And what he gave you is not for you anyway. So I'm going to teach people, once you find out who you are, once you get the okay from God, number one, once you get the okay from God and you spend that time and you're confident in yourself and you're confident with God, you can move forward. And he will lead and guide you. He will be the light unto your path. And that's what I'm going to tell people, because for so many years, Cheryl, for so many years, I have just been this person clammed up with so many things, but I didn't let it come out, because I was always afraid of, will I be welcome here? Will this group like me there? Am I okay to sit at this table? Well, they let me come and sit at this table, but guess what? Now that they've pulled me in, they like to say, hey, you catch the fish, then you clean the fish. And so then they want to change me to be like them. I don't want to be like everybody else, because there's a tribe of people that's waiting on me to see that, hey, guess what? I was looking for the one like you that would make me feel welcome, that would say, hey, it's okay that I can get started too, because everybody else looked the same. I was looking for something different. And that's what I'm going to teach people. When I realized and I started feeling comfortable within myself, and I started to love myself, and I healed so I could live, I went to the retreat and I realized what was wrong with me, that I had a level of fear that I was operating in that did not allow me to be able to deliver what was inside of me. And I'm like, no, I can't, I will never, ever allow anyone to hold me back from that again. I'm going to teach people that. Be who you are. Get confirmation from God on what you want to do. And I tell people all the time, you can hear things all the time from people. People are going to tell you, when you're a kid, you may say, I want to be a doctor. And your mom might say, no, you need to be a lawyer. You might say, I want to be this, but your dad says, no, you need to be that. No, you have a relationship with God for yourself, and it's free. It's free. You can have a relationship with God by yourself, and you can ask God to show you who you are in him. See, because what you identify as is not what God sees you as anyway. So you get that confirmation from him, get healed, operate in purpose, and you'll be just fine. And then you'll be able to walk with the boldness and authority that God has already given you. I'm going to teach you how to operate with prophetic confirming words versus prophetic influence words, because I operated by allowing people to give me a prophetic influence word. So every time they told me something, because I was so confused and I didn't understand, and I'm going to all these other people, I was confused, and then I stayed in a shell because I'm like, no, guess what? Like they once said, if you can't sit at that table, guess what? Build your own. We building tables. We're building our own tables. That's what I want to do. I'm going to build my own table because I can't live my life for nobody else but me. And as long as I continue to wait and worry about what everybody else thinks about me, what everybody else wants to encourage me to do, and what everybody else has from me, I'm not operating in what God gave me. And if He didn't tell me, it ain't for me. It was just something that you want to share with me. And if He didn't tell you, it ain't for you either. But you got to make sure that you have the right ears to hear what God is saying to you. And I'm going to teach you how to walk in the boldness and authority and to be unapologetically authentic. I give no apologies, none, for who I am and for who I choose to be, because I choose to serve God and I choose to deliver a message, and a message of hope, a message of love. And I want to share the light that God has given me with you. And that's what I want to bring to the Heal to Live conference. And I'm so grateful and thankful, Cheryl, to be a part of it. I mean, I'm so excited. I looked at the calendar and I said, wait a minute, that's like tomorrow. The conference is like tomorrow. So I don't know what they're waiting on. I mean, you already almost at the capacity that you want to be at for the conference. So I'm going to throw this plug in as well. I know y'all want to come and see me anyway. I want to see me too. So healtoliveconference.com. Get your ticket. She already brought the prices down. So look, what are we waiting on? Get your
Absolutely.
ticket and do the work. I'm glad. And we're not all the way healed. We'll keep it honest. We're not all the way healed because we're healing every day. And every day you find something else that, oh, dang, I didn't realize that bothered me. There's trauma triggers. There's things that you're like, I didn't even realize that would make me feel like that. And I'm going to talk about that. I had no idea that I felt like that. Because sometimes you're a 40-year-old woman, but there's that 8-year-old kid that didn't get a chance to play with the other kids because you looked a certain way. That 12 or 13-year-old person that didn't get a chance to get invited to the dance because you looked a certain way or you sounded a certain way, you're still broken. And there's going to be something that maybe happens with your kids now that you recognize, and then, oh, now it triggers something that happened to you that you never even talked about. Sometimes we bury things and we hide things that we have gone through, and we just move past it until something happens, and it's called a trauma trigger. And then you realize, I'd never even dealt with that. Now you got PTSD and you don't even know it. You know, we all taking time bombs sometimes. We're healing each and every day. We're healing. You're not coming here because we're perfect. We're healing together, but we recognize what needs to be done. And that's the most important part, is to recognize what needs to be done, to become aware. If you're an alcoholic and everybody else can see you're an alcoholic, but you don't recognize you're one, you're never going to heal. If you're a drug head and everybody else can see that it's a problem, but you, all the prayers in the world, they may work at some point, but until you recognize that you need to change, if you're a person that's always operating if you're always negative, let's see, we got something going on. If you're always negative and you can never see the glass half full, you always see it half empty, maybe that's a problem because you saw somebody taught you to always think in a negative manner and you didn't even realize it. If you're a complainer and you can never find anything good in life, just waking up in itself is good. Just recognizing who God is good. But sometimes people can't even recognize that those are problems because maybe grandma was negative and her mom was negative, and so it's just carried down, guys. Ladies, come on and get this healing. Maybe your mom was battered and you saw that, whether maybe she was verbally abused or physically abused, and she just pushed it under the rug or didn't talk about it. It made you go to your room, and now you're going through the same thing, or you went through the same thing. But guess what? You got to get healed, baby, because guess what? Your kids are going to go through the same thing because they need someone to talk to, and we have to start this today. We've got to make a change. And I did a song that says it's time to make a change and live a better life. No more unhappy days and no more stressful nights. So I want you to know that you're special. And that's it, Cheryl. I think I've said enough.
Absolutely. And always, we got to give you a collection plate because
You know,
hope
when I get started, I gotta go.
Her word is always profound, you guys. And so I don't want to stay on this thing too long, but I am going to piggyback off of my sister, right? One of the things you said is the opinions of other people stopped you from really being able to operate in your purpose. That happens to so many people. They allow people that slept on their own dreams and goals, that were too scared to even step outside of their comfort zone, stop them from operating in the purpose that God has called them to operate in. It happens so much. But when you are healed and whole, and when you know whose you are and who you are, those opinions go in one ear and out of the other ear. That was one of the things that I had to understand when I no longer allow other people opinions to stop me from fully operating in my greatness and my purpose. Because what I had to understand is somebody is waiting to hear my voice. Somebody is waiting for me to move so that I can do what I'm called to do, so that they can do what they're called to do. Point blank. With Toya, Toya was already operating in purpose, right? But Toya was able to get something that she needed to unlock her next at the retreat. We hosted a retreat in October of 2021, and Toya was a speaker, but she still was able to get something to help her along her healing journey. Sometimes we need that person to help unlock us, right? That person is going to help unlock your next level. I had to have the same thing in my life. My person that unlocked me to that next level was Dr. Lanika Scott. She will be at the conference, you guys. And I'm so excited about that. What we don't understand is the importance of being in the circle of people where we're inspired to go, right? Being in that type of circle around people that's doing what it is that we would like to do. We have to put ourselves in places of where we see ourselves, not where we are now. That's where you have to really look through your faith eyes and see, okay, God downloaded this thing in my spirit. God gave me this vision through a dream. God put this in my face or put me in a place where I can see this, but I got to be able to see it for myself. I got to be able to have faith to know that if God did it for her, if God did it for her, if God did it for him, then God can do it for me, because he's not a respecter of persons. But we have to understand that we have to allow our faith to override our fear and start to operate in our greatness, because somebody is waiting on what God has given only us to do. He's given only us to do one assignment, that only we can touch those that are assigned to our voice, right? So it's time for you to heal. And I'm going to wrap this thing up to let you understand, well, hope that you understand, in order for you to fully operate in that purpose and that calling that God has called you for, you got to be willing to heal. Because when you are in a broken place, you cannot receive everything that God has for you. One, you don't have the mental capacity to receive it. Two, you don't have the faith like you should have to really receive what God is putting in front of you to see. And you got to be willing to say, hey, I'm not perfect. But if God woke me up to see another brand new day, then that means he is not through with me yet. And that means that, hey, if I need to heal from some things, I'm going to take ownership and start to do the work. Doing the work, it doesn't look pretty. I'm going to tell you now, it's not a pretty thing. It's not. And the first part of doing the work is what Toya said. Like if you're an alcoholic, and not just an alcoholic, but doing the work, you have to take ownership and acknowledge that there's some work that I need to do. Right. And so we want to help you guys. And so we're about to close this thing out on tonight. And I'm going to ask you one more question, Coach City. If you can tell a queen that may have seen advertising and they said, I really want to go to that, but I don't know if that's right for me. I don't know if I'll be um accepted, right? They may feel that our people on the outside can see what they've been through, can see that hurt little girl, right? Because sometimes when you're broken and hurt, you assume that people can see what you're feeling and what you're going through when actually they cannot. Talk to that person that's on that edge. Like, I think that I need to be there, but I'm scared to step out on faith and make an investment in myself.
Okay, Queen, listen. If you even feel that, that's kind of like whenever the preacher says, "Come to the altar." I feel like there's one more, and you just keep
That altar
nudging.
call.
But the Holy Spirit is telling you go, but you're nudging because you're quenching it. Right now, if you're thinking that this is something that I should do, don't second guess it because you know that you're going through some things. You know, and it's okay. Come on down and get healed. Nobody's gonna judge you. They don't judge me. They're not gonna judge you. We want to get healed together and we want you to feel welcome. It's okay. I can tell you, like she just said, I was a coach and then something triggered me. And I realized that there was an area that I needed to be healed. And I wasn't ashamed to share that because when we come together as a unit of people and we recognize what the goal is to heal, to live, and we can do it and embrace one another, that's how change begins. So get your ticket. The best thing and the best person that you can invest in is you. You want to be the best version of you. We always invest in the best, right? We want the best house, we want the best car, we want the nicest clothes and shoes. But what about the best heart, the best body, the best mind, the best soul? You only get one of you, Queen. So come on and get her cleaned up.
That's right. You only get one of you. And one of the most important things that I learned in the process of my mom passing away is truly getting to know who God is. And so it's a place where you can really be yourself and understand who you are in Christ. Having a relationship with God is so important. It's important outside of any of these material things. And we want to be able to speak to your soul, to speak to who God created, right? And we're so excited about that. So, thank you so much, Toya, Coach City, for joining me on tonight. Thank you to all of the viewers that tuned in on tonight. If you have not subscribed to the podcast, make sure you go to YouTube. It is She Heal to Live podcast. We're on all streaming platforms, Pandora, Apple Podcasts, and all of the Audible versions. Subscribe and make sure you come back to our next episode where we will be talking to another host, special guest that's going to be at the conference. So if you didn't get your ticket, head over there right now to healtoliveconference.com and get your ticket. We have buy now, pay later options. We have one day options. We have all kind of options. So it is no excuse for you to not be in the building, right? So remember, the best investment you can ever make is in yourself, like Coach City said. So I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you come back for the next episode. See you guys on the next episode. Thank you again.